Well, here we go, folks. I just want to bring up Castro and Khrushchev. Because since I last saw you, Khrushchev and Castro were in Harlem. And they stayed at Teresa Hotel where I often stop when I go to New York. And
You bring up Khrushchev, you can leave Castro alone.
I could shut you up permanently, but my zipper's stuck. Now you get your record and then get yourself together. See, let me do this one. I don't need no help. If I'm a fail, let me go down the drain alone. And when you get to your job, try to hold that one, whatever it is. But I wouldn't come down there and move your mop and your greasy rag. Well, anyway, Castro and Khrushchev, they were standing out in front of the Teresa Hotel talking. And Castro looked at Khrushchev and said, Khrushchev, he said, have you noticed that everybody here in Harlem got the same name and they're hungry? Khrushchev what do you mean? Castro said, everywhere I go, I hear fellas look at each other and say, hey, Daddy, you got any bread? But you know, with all the stuff they had about the president-elect being Catholic and all that stuff, a whole lot of discussion was brought up about it. But some guys suggested that they have a third candidate, and they chose Adam Clayton Powell. But I think they can forget that, because it took that long to get ready for a Catholic. How long take you think it'd take for him to get ready for a Baptist? Here's a beautiful story. Sort of sick, but that's what you got to get with nowadays. Sick stuff, the well stuff, and the half done. And this fella, he stuttered a little bit, and he walked up to a little boy who was sitting on the curb. He walked up to a little boy and said, Sonny, can you tell me how to get to the Safeway? Little boy just raised his head and shook it, but he didn't say nothing. Just shook his head. This guy said, Ted, did you hear me, youngster? Can you tell me how to get to the Safeway? Little boy raised his head again, didn't say nothing. So I said, well, thanks anyway. And he left. Another little boy walked over to this little boy who the fella had questioned. He said, listen, you know where Safeway stores are. Why don't you tell this fella where Safeway was? Little boy said, and get the hell smacked out of me. Oh, my brother and his wife, they have a good time. A lot of couples get along pretty good, and my brother and his wife are that type of couple. Last summer, they went to Atlantic City. They had fun on the beach. She'd bury him in the sand, and he'd bury her in the sand, and she'd bury him in the sand, and he'd bury her in the sand. He buried her in the sand last, and I think he's going back and dig up next summer. No, it's nice to get along. Oh, really, two cannibals were sitting on a stump. And one cannibal had just arrived, sat down on the stump next to the other cannibal and said, say, am I late for dinner? The other cannibal said, yeah, everybody's eating. And if you all drink, I know you must have used one of these words in describing your condition, because there are many ways to say I'm boozed. Now, if you've ever been drunk, here's some of the ways you can say it. So I'm soused, oiled, boiled, pickled, canned, tight, high, crocked, stewed, pied, tanked, cockeyed, soaked, buzzed, stinko, intoxicated, inebriated, polluted, tipsy, snozzles, lit, 3 sheets of the wind on the tooth, stewed to the gill, fried, loaded, squiffed, barrel, liquored up, piffed, puddled out, floating, corn, piffolated, rocking chairs got me, paralyzed, saturated, boozed up, jagged, frazzled, bit of a glow on, snoot full, on a bender, on a spree, corked, half shot, full, on the tear, gassed up, woozy, feeling rosy, petrified, in the cups, buns on, bloated, bluted, on the toot, lush, looped, off the beam, spiff, groggy, foggy, carrying a load, and I'm fractured. Just a few. It was 2 drunks out hunting one night. And they waited till morning because they were out hunting wild. But these 2 guys were out hunting, they were waiting to catch some wild anything. And while they were out on the ground, a wild boar ran out after him. Chased one guy up the tree, the other guy ran in the cave. This guy would run up the tree, the boar would run over and this guy would run in the cave, and the wild boar would run over to the cave and chase him in. And the minute he'd run back out, go over to the tree, the wild boar would chase the other guy back up the tree. Neither one of them couldn't get out. The guy kept running out the cave. Guy was up in the tree, said, "Hey, man, why'd you stay in the cave? Maybe you'll get tired and go." Guy said, "Are you kidding? Hell, there's a grizzly bear in that cave." Oh, well, this is beautiful. Some lines that you probably all use, you girls. See, these are the last lines that a guy usually hears when he takes a girl out. Just a few of them. It's about 4 million. Now, the question has been popped, and she says, "What makes you think I'm that kind of girl?" Here's another one. She said, "No, I'd rather just be a friend." I'm really not in the mood. What would my mother do if she found out? This isn't the time nor the place. You've heard it. I love you too much for that. Do we have to do the same thing every night? Why did I ever let you start this? Suppose your wife heard about it. I thought you would be different. Please, darling, I'm afraid because... if we do, you will hate me. I'll punch you right in your nose. I want to save this for our wedding night. Are you kidding? Why is it every time I go out with a man, it ends this way? Take your hands off me, you rat. I hate going to hotels. Can you really get me a screen test? And then we have 2 more, just no, just plain no, and help. Well, we get into something else, some of the funny stuff. Oh, were you at the fights last night? I was at the fights. 35 cents for ringside. No, $35. You know, 35 cents in jazz vernacular, that's $35. Hell, I couldn't stand that. And the next seat was 20. That's in the sort of like in the balcony. And the second balcony was $10. And then they had $5 free fall up against the wall. And programs was 25 cents, so I sat on one of them. But, oh yeah, let me talk about baseball. I could have been a great baseball player. I could have been in baseball before Jackie Robinson, really, if it hadn't been for prejudice down south. See, we didn't have a playground. Now, we played in the cow pasture, and I hit a triple and slid into what I thought was third. Scout from the Dodgers said, no, we can't use you. But it was a good game down there, and it was a big fella, 6'6". He wanted to get in the major leagues, 6'6". He was standing up to the plate, but they had one of them old umpires, you know, real soda biscuit. I hate to say cracker. And this cat was standing up to the plate. 6'6" this guy was, weighed 242 pounds, great outfielder. He was standing up to the plate. First ball whizzed by. Umpire said, straight one. Ball was this wide from the plate. He knew what it was. So he stood up to the plate. Came the next ball. Said, umpire said, 2. This cat 6'6", he raised his bat and said, 2 what? Umpire said, 2 high. It's an old standard piece of equipment, the geography of women. From 17 to 25, women are like Africa, part virgin and part unexplored. From 25 to 35, women are like the United States, high-toned and temperate. And from 35 to 45, they're like Asia, dark and mysterious. And from 45 to 55, they're like Europe, devastated but still interesting in places. And from 55 on, they like Australia. Everybody knows where it is, but nobody want to go there. And it's got winos. Here's the winos. I love them. No, beautiful people in winos, good friends. There was a wino walked out of a joint one night. He was tore up. And a fire engine was passing by with the siren screaming. This wino, he didn't know what it was. You could just hear the screaming of the siren. And we saw this red truck go by. He just chased it for 3 or 4 blocks and then fell out exhausted. He said, all right then, damn it, keep your old peanuts. Say, you know, we had a big accident on the way here tonight. Had 2 guys ran into each other over here on Western right off Crenshaw. Western right off Crenshaw. And one guy looked at his car, what the hell wrong with you, you blind? This wino said, hell, I hit you, didn't I? And during the war, and you know, if you guys get it, this guy he announced his engagement, and he told all his buddies, he said, tonight, I'll have to decide whether I'll be a man or a mouse. He said, if I'm a man, I'll wait until tomorrow night to make love to her. If I'm a mouse, he said, well, I couldn't be a mouse because I'm a rat, because I made love to her already. And an old movie star, beautiful diamonds, fur coat, long opera. She walked in this theater and saw a premiere. It was fabulous. All the movie stars from Hollywood were there. And as she was leaving, she was one of the last people to leave the theater. And she noticed that a lady scrubbing in the aisle. And they looked at each other and hollered, "Mother!" And they ran and hugged each other. This movie star hugged this scrub woman and kissed her. Mother, mother. And the movie star couldn't stand any longer. She ran out the theater. And the scrub woman said, "I don't care what you say, my mother sure was looking good." Yeah, I tricked you, didn't I? The guy showed up at his office one day, and his face was swollen, he had bandages all over it. And all the fellas asked him, "What's the matter, you got a toothache?" He said, "I had one the other day, but I got rid of it quick. Because the pain can't hurt me because my wife walked up to me and kissed me. It's like the same thing you got with your big jaw. My wife kissed me on my jaw, and my jaw healed right up. So that's what you got to do." The guy said, "Oh, that's fine." He said, "But will your wife be home tonight?" But it was once, during the war, it was a soldier. He didn't care about fighting. He really didn't want to go to war. He said, "This can't make me fight." He told his buddy, he said, "They can't make me fight. I'm not cut out for fighting, and I don't care what they do, they can't make me fight." So I said, "Don't say they can't make you fight now." He said, "Because they can take you over there and sit you right in the middle of where the fighting is and let you make up your own mind." No, you know, but let me tell you about a new invention. A lady in my neighborhood discovered in one of those magazines some stuff that you could get to remove wrinkles from a prune. And she sent off for some of it. And she found out that that stuff wasn't no good, but she got the smoothest prunes on Virginia Road. You know, nothing annoys a woman more than when friends drop in unexpectedly and find the house like it would have been anyway. See, you know this guy on television give people exercises? Well, he gave out one thing yesterday. He said, now here's a good, very good exercise for your abdominal muscles, like gut muscles. He said, grab your feet, put them together on the floor, now bend to the right of your waist. Sit down on your left leg, lift your right knee slightly, and lift yourself up with your abdominal muscles. Now bend to the left of the waist and sit on your right leg with crossing your left knee over to your right. He said, keep it up 50 times. Then write me and let me know what happened. His first letter was one word, hernia. Here's a beautiful story. They had a restaurant, San Francisco, served any kind of sandwich in the world, anything, just name it. These two guys went in, they said, I thought they would be slick. He said, give us 2 elephant ear sandwiches. Chef said, I'm sorry, but we can't give you elephant ear sandwiches. This guy said, see that, I told you this was a trick, they don't have everything. Chef said, well, I beg your pardon. He said, it's not the fact that we don't have the elephant ear sandwiches, it's those big buns we ran out of. That's good, Fred. I'd like to begin with this true story. You know, I never lie, not for any given reason. But it seemed as though there's a farmer, he was getting on the train, he was going home, and he sat down next to a city fella. And they sat next to each other for about 3 hours without saying anything. Finally, the farmer couldn't wait no longer. He asked the city, he said, where you from? What do you do? He said, I noticed you counting out the window. The city fellow was counting as he passed by each town. He'd count the cars because he was a calculator. That's like a mathematician, a person that can count faster than anyone else. So you've seen those kind of people look at something and say, well, that's 44. Well, this city fellow could do that. So the farmer said, I noticed you counting. The city fellow said, yeah, I'm counting cars and I'm counting people and counting signs on the road. Just pass by the time. He said, I never miss. Farmer said, well, I'm coming to my farm in about 10 minutes. I want you to count how many cows I got, just see if you're right. So they came to the farmer's place, and the calculator looked out the window. He said, so you got 515 cows. Farmer said, that's right. How'd you do it? Calculator said, well, I just counted all their teats and divided it by 4. Well, did I tell you about my son, Rodney? He came home from school yesterday. No, day before yesterday was Friday. He came home with a report card. He said, Daddy, here's my report card and one of yours that I found in your trunk. So he got away all right. You know, in most of the towns down south, they have one fella. He could be the sheriff, a veterinarian, and own a grocery store. Well, it was such a case, he was the sheriff and a veterinarian. And his name's Mr. Charlie. And he got a phone call one night. He said, Mr. Charlie, is that you? Mr. Charlie said, yeah, this is me. What's the trouble? He said, we want you very bad up here at the house. He said, what's wrong? Do you need me as a veterinarian or a sheriff? Guy on the other end of the line said, we need you as both because we got a bulldog and we can't get his mouth open and he got a burglar in it. And, I'm just talking at random here now, no particulars. That's right, just laugh out loud there. That's right. Yeah. Laugh like you're eating chitlins. And if you can eat a chitlin, you got something to laugh about. Because it take a lot of heart to eat a gut. A few years ago in Louisville, Kentucky, they had a hotel. And since Louisville was the home of the Kentucky Derby, this hotel, every year after the Kentucky Derby, they would name a room after the winning horse. You see, they had a Whirlaway room, a Gallant Foxx room, a Zev room. But in 1946, the manager figured he'd cut it out because that year, Assault won. I thought that was cool. See, you know, during the war, a lot of guys would do anything to get a pass, you know, out of camp because it was a drag there being away from your home and your people and your woman and stuff. And a guy in my outfit, he went to the company commander and asked for a pass and told him it was very important because his wife was pregnant. So they got his papers all fixed and he signed them. And the company commander said, when do you expect the baby? He said, about 9 months after I get home. I was down to court, you know, every time I get you together here like this, I always go down to court. Some of you ought to go down there sometime to see. And I was down to court last week, and a guy came up before the judge for burglary. The judge said, I'm gonna give you the maximum punishment. See, I'm not gonna put you in one of our nice, warm cells and give you hot food 3 times a day. He said, I'm gonna turn you loose. I'm gonna let you go free so you can worry about state taxes, city taxes, income taxes, shortages, unemployment, politics, war, and high cost of living like everybody else. Case dismissed. Let him go. I was listening to the radio about 4 o'clock the other morning, and they have a beatnik disc jockey. This beatnik disc jockey, you know, those guys that wake up early in the morning and give you the farm report, the livestock and butter and egg report. Well, it's a guy, it's a beatnik. He calls his report the beatnik market summary. It went something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, like Cattlesville and Pigsville was Slowville yesterday. Like the Cattleville and Pigsville might go up, but in Shire, Slaughtersville steers was slow and sort of steady at 36.95 and 1961. Like Dow Jones and them cats also were a little off today. Later on, y'all. That's right, two cats, 2 longshoremen, they were stopped in a bar down in one of those dingy waterfront saloons down in San Diego, and they were having a few drinks. Well, anyway, these 2 longshoremen stopped in this dingy joint on the waterfront down in San Diego and had a quick drink. And there was a waitress working in this joint, and everybody coming in the joint, she tried to make them. So one of the guys got up to go to the toilet, and while he was gone, this waitress walked over to his friend and leaned all down with her low-cut uniform right in front of his eyes. And she said, well, Daddy, now's your chance. He said, it sure is. And he looked all around and reached over and drank his buddy's beer. Just about then, another guy walked in. Another guy walked in the bar. He said, I'm thirsty. Waitress said, well, I'll bring you a glass of water. He said, I was thirsty, not dirty. But I remember when a woman wouldn't let a man hold her hand. Now she got to. Well, oh yeah, did I tell you I saw this big accident up on Adams yesterday? 5 cars were involved in the accident. A crowd gathered and the police came, and one officer went over to a girl and asked her, did she see the accident? She said, well, no, just before the accident, she said, the wind blew my dress up over my head, and I don't know what caused it. A honeymoon couple had just checked in the motel, and the wife came out the bedroom in her negligee, and the husband, he was sitting on the couch watching Jack Parr. Yeah. Yeah, and he said, "Oh, darling, I remember that gown you have on. That was the one you had on the first night we met." You know, two girls were talking. One told the other one, said, "You know, I told my boyfriend I never want to see him again." Girlfriend said, "What'd he say?" She said, "He didn't say nothing. He just rolled over and went on back to sleep." No, but you know, this flu epidemic that hit Los Angeles has really been something. And a lot of Californians have been ill from this virus. But my doctor, he's wonderful. No kidding, I had it. He put me right on my feet. He charged me so much I had to sell my car. There was a guy was sick in the hospital, and the first meal they served him was a bowl of Jell-O. And he said, "Look here, baby, I ain't gonna eat that. I ain't gonna eat nothing more nervous than me." And here's a lesson for you blabbermouth girls. Just a few lines of a poem that might help you keep your mouth shut about your love affair. You kissed him and told, but that's all right. The one you told called him up last night. Here's another little poem. I don't think it's too sexy, actually, but here it is. I tried her on the sofa. I tried her on the chair. I tried her on the windowsill, but we couldn't get it there. I tried her lying on the couch. She stood against the wall, but that didn't work at all. I tried it this way and I tried it that way. And oh my goodness, how I laughed to think how many ways we tried to get her photographed. Here's a little short poem. Twins are bad, triplets are worse. Sleep alone, safety first. But I tell you, we had dinner today at home. But we were sitting down at the table and my wife asked our son, Rodney, would he say the blessing? Rodney said, "Mother, I don't know what to say." She said, "Well, just say what you heard me say." So Rodney bowed his head and said, "Oh, Lord, why did I invite these damn people here today?" I was talking to my landlord today, and you know, they sure ask for a lot of rent here in California. My landlord asked me 7 times this month. I was talking to my landlord. I talked to him today. I said, "I heard you picked up some French while you was in the service." He said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Well, let me hear you say something." He said, "I didn't learn any words." I notice you haven't smiled, dear. You're not here for revenge. The guy was in a drugstore out here on Western, you know, right there at the Golden State Building. And he walked over to the pharmacist, walked over to him and said, I beg your pardon, but I wish you wouldn't smoke that cigar in here. This guy said, "Well, hell, I bought the cigar here." The pharmacist said, "We also sell X-Lax." Listen, did you ever go down to Marine Land down, I forget, you go straight out Western, all the way straight out to Marine Land where they have sharks and porpoise and turtles and all those kind of fish. And I went out to the family, and there was a guy standing by the wall. And, you know, the guide was showing the people around, pointed him out. He said, "You see that fellow standing over there by the wall? Now, he was one of our greatest shark catchers greatest in the world. He used to take his right hand and stick it in the shark's mouth and take the hook out. See, they used to call him Fearless Sharky. And my wife said, well, what do they call him now? This guy said, Lefty. See. Oh, by the way, I don't like to bring my family into it, but my uncle, you know, the inventor that I always talk about, my uncle just invented a lint suit that picks up blue surge. Say, a friend of mine, a real good close buddy of mine, owns a house out here by Lover's Lane. You know where Lover's Lane is? Out there in Hollywood. He owns a house out there. And last week, he heard his dog barking and howling. Oh, ow, 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 oh. And he raised his window and said, shut up, buddy. That was his dog's name. And he heard a voice out the bushes saying, I'm sorry. Oh, yes. A bicycle salesman was going through different little small towns down the way. You know what I mean, down the way. And he came up on a farmer, and he tried to sell his farmer a bicycle. The farmer said, I'd rather buy a cow than a bicycle. Guy said, but you look ridiculous riding a cow. He said, well, I look more ridiculous trying to milk a bicycle. You know, a lot of guys, you know, when they're married, they have to find some excuse, you know, if they stay out a little too late or get caught in business and out a little too long, they have to find some excuse. But a buddy of mine, he was out playing poker all night with the guys, and he didn't know what to tell his wife because she had heard everything. So he just called up, he said, baby, this is me. He said, don't pay the ransom, I just escaped. Now, well, in my early days in show business, I used to live in a boarding house in Chicago. You know, I used to go in the boarding house, you get your room and board and stuff. And the lady I lived with, she could take 3 pounds of bologna and let it last 4 months. She cut it so thin. I sat down at the table, I said, who cut this bologna? She said, I cut it. I said, well, shuffle and deal.